No doubt about it. This is weird.
From the land of conjurers flying through the internet to your device like a UAP, hauntingly unexplained and downright weird. This is the Witching Hours, and we are ready to take off in the flash of an eye. Good evening to one and all, wherever and whenever you're listening to this program. I am Johnny the Frost, and joining me, as always, is the medium Jenny Lee. How are you doing, Jenny?
I just want to say that the new intro video, every time I see Allie Cardinale wave and then myself waving back, it just makes me very happy.
You're just ready to wave, talk to Allie again.
It's just cute and fun.
Excellent. Yeah, it was always fun making those things. Always, and that's like one of my favorite things to do. So,
yeah.
Well, welcome in, everyone. It's nice to see everyone here on this Monday, our second time on a Monday. It's a different workflow.
Or is it the third Monday?
Is it the third Monday?
So we do.
I guess it is
Monday.
Yeah, we had one where we talked. Yeah, last week was our first kind of normal one, though.
Yes, last week was our first real Monday.
Getting used to the new workflow. So I guess I'll just kind of talk a little bit. The way we're doing this right now is, so we're live here on Mondays. You can join us at the spiritrealm.net, and you can talk to us there. We're also at our home on Twitch. And then the videos, the podcasts and stuff are going up later in the week, typically when they would have been going up before on Thursday. So nothing there changes. But once again, we're super happy to be over on Spirit Realm Network. And we're going to be talking about Spirit Realm Network some tonight as well. So
we are.
You can find out more about it. Lots of things going on that we'll get to. We are getting really close to Team Weird Takeover.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if we realize how close it is, actually. Like, we probably should.
It's less than 3 weeks.
Yeah, we need to get busy. But we're going to have a blast. So you can, we're going to be going to Lake Shawnee Abandoned Amusement Park. We're going to be meeting up with our Team Weird folks. And we're going to be doing some investigation. And Jenny's going to be doing some channeling. And Jenny and Irene are going to be doing some gallery readings. And Priestess of Wonderland and Luce are going to be doing some craft tables, and it was just going to be a great time. So welcome in, everyone. We're glad to have you here tonight. We're going to have a wonderful conversation, but I guess first, Jenny, we should get into some news.
Sure. I'm always just a little scared of the news now. You know, like
Everybody
every week
likes the news.
But every week is like there's so many scary things happening right now.
It's Allison's favorite part, she said a long time ago. Maybe I've
You've traumatized her
I've sullied it with microplastics. Oh, come on. You know, I mean, everybody needs a little plastic spoon in their brain. You know?
And we all do, apparently.
Story number 1, archaeologists discover tomb of Jesus with unbelievable evidence. Excavations at Jerusalem's Church of the Holy Sepulchre have revealed stunning new evidence aligning closely with the biblical descriptions of Jesus' burial. Archaeologists from Rome's Sapienza University, led by Professor Francesca Romana Strasola, have uncovered traces of an ancient garden beneath the church, complete with olive and grapevine remains, echoing the Gospel of John's account of a garden tomb near the crucifixion site. The discovery echoes the New Testament verse in John 19:41 that says, "Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb in which no one had yet been laid." Archaeobotanical studies and pollen analysis confirmed the presence of ancient olive trees and grapevines beneath the basilica, suggesting the site was once an agricultural area. long before the church's construction. These findings bolster the gospel narrative describing a garden at the burial location. Like we just talked about, the dig, part of a major renovation approved in 2019, has already yielded 4th century coins, pottery, and circular marble base of what's believed to be Constantine's original aedicule. I've never seen that word before. Aedicule, marking the revered burial spot. Though the site has seen centuries of destruction and rebuilding, layers beneath its floors now offer a detailed archaeological timeline stretching back to the Iron Age. With excavation currently paused during the Easter and spring season, the team continues post-production work in Rome using modern technology to digitally reconstruct the site's history piece by piece.
So they find some bones?
They've been able to tell that there's a tomb there, but they haven't gotten to it yet. They're doing this digitally.
They're finding all this other stuff, but they haven't found any remains yet, is what I understand.
Well, plus, they can't. Like a lot of this, some of this are doing digitally. I don't know. I think I thought it was really interesting about the archaeobotanical. Like I had never heard of that before, but yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of things lining up there. I'm always excited about any kind of ancient tomb. Like there was a rumor, people were wondering if we were going to find the tomb of Alexander. That hasn't come through, the tomb of Cleopatra. It would be interesting to be able to find. I guess Jesus would be the jackpot, right? Like if you found, right?
Yes, but the alliteration of Jesus jackpot was a little too much for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like
I just was imagining like at Las Vegas, like you're doing a slot machine and 3 Jesus popped up.
Jackpot.
Jesus jackpot. It's like Baby Bill Bible bonkers. Jesus jackpot.
So we'll keep up to date with that. We'll see if anything happens. We're not by any means really a religious show, but we have had through Medium Jenny Lee people like religious figures and Jesus and stuff like that come by to messages. So
Jesus came through in a reading once. Actually, that one just went up on YouTube. It's old, but it's new.
Yeah,
it's new to YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So interesting. Story number 2: we emit a visible light that vanishes when we die, says a surprising new study. Life truly is radiant, according to an experiment conducted by researchers from the University of Calgary and the National Research Council of Canada. An extraordinary experiment on mice and leaves from 2 different plant species has uncovered direct physical evidence of an eerie biophoton phenomenon ceasing on death, suggesting all living things, including humans, could literally glow with health until we don't. The findings might seem a little fringe at first glance. It's hard to not associate scientific investigations into biological electromagnetic emissions with debunked and paranormal claims of auras and discharges surrounding living organisms. What's more, even in theory, visible wavelengths of light emitted by biological processes ought to be so faint that it's easily swamped by the intense shine of ambient electromagnetic waves in the environment and radiant heat generated by our metabolism, making it a challenge to actually track across an entire body. Still, University of Calgary physicist Vahid Salari and his team have claimed to observe just that, an ultra-weak photon emission, or UPE, produced by several living animals in strong contrast with their non-living bodies, as well as in a handful of plant leaves.
Yeah, woo-woo people know all about this.
Yeah.
It's like, we know about auras and light and chakras and rainbows and the light spectrum. And then, if you want to get really down the woo-woo rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
like light is life.
Mm-hmm.
Light is consciousness. So yeah, I love that science is just catching up with.
Yeah. Well, that's why I put it in there. It's interesting because we always talk about like how for this stuff, science, these 2 things are going to have to merge at some point in time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're starting to see, starting to see a little bit.
They're getting it.
It was the story was a little upsetting because, they're doing this in a laboratory setting. So they're actually killing mice and stuff.
Oh.
And then but I haven't put the pictures up on the website, but they're like showing like the like it's not a heat map, it's like the light map, but it's showing like how it exists when the mouse is alive and how it's not there when the mouse is dead or whatever.
Plus
And with
plants.
leaves. Yeah, and with leaves. Yeah.
Which we were talking about. We've been talking about a lot lately.
Yeah,
we had a story about that last week too.
That was a newsletter. So they were screaming when they were killed too. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
One's not better than the other. News story number 3, Ed Smiley, who saved the Apollo 13 crew with duct tape, dies at the age of 95. Robert Ed Smiley, the NASA official who led a team of engineers that cobbled together an apparatus made of cardboard, plastic bags, and duct tape that saved the Apollo 13 crew in the 1970s.
Chewing gum and some old string.
After an explosion crippled the spacecraft as it sped toward the moon, died on April 21st in Crossville, Tennessee. He was 95. So I wanted to move along. He was died.
He was the MacGyver of NASA. Yeah. A paper clip and the duct tape, good to go.
He sprung to action after the Houston, we've had a problem. The famous communication there. He's the one who went into the office and made it happen.
He fixed the problem. Cool.
Finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about 2 headlines that I came across this week. I didn't put them in the news, so to speak, but part of the weird news is that we kind of observe the news to see how this is being digested. The first one that I wanted to bring up was a headline of UFOs are swarming U.S. military zone and one crashed into a fighter jet. And they're using this term UFOs or UAPs. But then when you start reading the article, there's a big suggestion that it was a drone.
So it's just clickbait.
Well, I feel like there's a little bit of an issue with there being like intentional misrepresentation of what is what.
Plus we had all those drones that nobody really knew what they were, where they came from. So they technically do fit into the UAP or UFO
and all of a sudden, like that was aliens, even though like we knew that it was a lot of like man, guided drones. And so now this is starting to happen with the so I'm just saying beware because they're incorporating the military fighters into this. I feel like this is a way for them to try to start explaining away like the Tic Tacs and stuff by saying that they were just, it's just some drone Bob was flying out there this weekend that happened to go 2,500 miles an hour.
Yeah, but not Bob in the chat. Bob, not you. Unless it was you.
And then the other article I wanted to bring up that I didn't put in here because you've had a couple of them lately, and that was a story about mediums taking advantage of a couple of men. And I've been noticing that we've had a couple of stories about that recently. And I guess I kind of wanted to get, and maybe this is a good opportunity we can bring on our guest tonight too and kind of talk about this, about how mediums are being represented in the mainstream right now. Yeah.
Well, they have that awful tarot horror movie too, which we never watch. But yeah.
So let's go ahead and maybe we can talk about that a little bit tonight. But I just brought that up because as I go through the news, it's very interesting to see how these things are reported. Not the news story themselves, but what's especially with the UFO stuff, and I feel like they're trying to bamboozle us.
Well, they've been bamboozling us since they had, I don't know, everything, newspapers,
since Roswell,
tablets, I don't know.
For over 2 decades, Candi Howard has walked the shadowy line between the living and the beyond. A tenacious force in the world of paranormal investigation, Candi has dedicated her life to uncovering truths hidden in the silence of haunted places. With a sharp mind and an unwavering resolve, she's combined traditional ghost hunting techniques with cutting-edge methods ranging from EVP recordings and spirit boxes to root workings combined with ancestral assistance and energy workings. Candi's work is not just about chasing ghosts, it's about giving voice to the voiceless and peace to the families who live in fear. Her empathetic approach has made her a trusted figure in countless households across the country, where she's helped unravel mysteries and bring closure where it once seemed impossible. Now, as a chief operating officer of the Spirit Realm Network, Candi oversees a team of elite investigators pushing the boundaries of the supernatural research and bringing credible, spine tingling stories to a global audience. Known for her fearless spirit and relentless curiosity, Candi doesn't just investigate the unknown, she invites it in. Please welcome to the show, Candi Howard. How are you doing, Candi?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. It's
We
great
are
to have you on the
well.
show.
Well,
We
thanks
are,
for having me.
yeah, we're super excited to be able to talk to you tonight. So, before we get started with where we typically start, what do you think about what I was talking about in the news? Do you like how mediums are being represented in the mainstream? Do you think there's a change there, or do you think that I've seen a lot of negative headlines lately, which I usually point out to Jenny?
So, the more negativity that you have, right, the more clickbait you get, right?
Mhm.
So, if you can stir the pot, then everybody comes in and they're like, ooh, what's that? Let me click. Oh, Maureen, I love you. But that's all it is. It's clickbait. That's all it is. They want to stir something up. They want the attention. That honestly, that's all it is.
Mhm.
You do have, mediums out there that aren't the best, that tell you what you want to hear, and they're just out there to make a quick buck. But then you have a lot of really phenomenal mediums and psychics out there that truly are out there to help people. Aw, Stacy, I know. um, they're really out there to help people, and they're really out there, doing some incredible work.
Mhm.
And they're the ones that are fighting tooth and nail just to, be able to be valid, which is insane to me. You should not have to fight that hard. But you
No.
do, unfortunately, because you have all of these negative, ignorant people that, kind of want to taint everything.
Well, one of the things that popped into my brain because I saw we had a couple articles recently where there's been crackdowns in a lot of other countries on mediums and people practicing magic and so on and so forth. But one of the things that really popped into my mind when I was reading this article today, Jenny and Candi, was the idea that, we've talked about the shift. The shift has become a huge part of discussions we've had in our community, but with our guests as well. Whatever that really is, and I wonder if this is the kickback from that. If there isn't, like this thing of like if mediums are and people who are coming with spiritual messages are talking about the positivity that's coming our way, if there's not an effort to shine a negative light on that.
Yeah. So my 2 cents on that, and Irene, absolutely, real quick, helping people is number one. That's why I feel like everybody has gifts. Number one, it's not just a select few people get it. Everybody has it. It's a matter of you have to open it, you have to foster it, you have to work at it. Everybody has it. So, but truthfully, I think that you have a lot of people out there that, if they can dampen something positive and raise up their negative ugliness, it gets them more attention. It gets them in the limelight versus the positivity. And there's a huge shift right now with they're over the ugliness, they're over the negativity. And so now you're seeing more of a shift in, spirituality, mediumship, witchcraft, and how better to try and dampen that than to demonize it.
Mm-hmm.
And say that, nope, this is wrong, this is evil, it's horrible, it's bad, it's going to hurt you, when in all reality it is the opposite. You've got some really bad apples out there that kind of ruin the bunch, but 99.9% of people out there are good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, I think the same thing. It's interesting when you start talking about this stuff real time, though, to see kind of the clash of ideas and stuff that are going on. Obviously, in this world that we're living in, that at least has some form of chaos right now. I mean, so many interesting things that I've heard people talking about now that I wouldn't hear them talking about 10 years ago, like time. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about time recently, how fast time seems to be going, and whether uh, time is speeding up, which are conversations I've been having for 20 years now.
Yeah.
But it seems to be gaining a more mainstream attention. But
Yeah.
I guess we'll want to start off kind of where we normally do, Candy. Like medium, paranormal investigation, working with the Spirit Realm Network. How did you get started in the paranormal? How did you get started in the woo-woo world? How did that begin for you?
So honestly, I mean, I kind of grew up in the woo woo world. Um, you know, I'm indigenous, so I grew up in the world of spirit. So as an animist, everything has spirit. From the rocks to the rivers to the trees, everything has a spirit. It's not just people. It's not just animals. So, and you have to have a reverence for that spirit. And just because someone passes on doesn't mean everything ceases to exist. There is an energy there. There's a force that exists, and not everyone can see it, but everyone can feel it, and everything is affected by it. So it honestly kind of started there. I mean, the first time I ever saw, I guess you'd call it a full body apparition. That's what most people would call it. I saw my great grandfather. I was about 6 years old, and he was standing in the field next to the old smokehouse, and I didn't know who he was. He had actually passed away when I was about 2, so I didn't recall what he looked like, but he was just standing there in bib overalls, an old cap, and he was just smiling and waving. And so I went and told my grandmother, my mom, what I'd seen, and described what he looked like and what he was wearing. And my grandmother was like, "That was my dad."
Wow.
And they were just shocked. But that was and that was his smokehouse, that he was in all the time. He loved it. He built it. And that was his thing. He used to keep in the pocket of his bib overalls, he always kept a Hershey's chocolate bar for the great grandkids. And when we were very little, before he passed, he would sit us on his lap, and that was his thing. He would give us a chocolate bar every
Nice.
time. So, and as far as the woo woo stuff, I mean, that's just part of traditional heritage and practice. Ritual and prayer and dance, herbalism, alchemy, all of that's just part of your daily life. Anytime that you pray, regardless of who you pray to, it's important. And it's personal, and it's a connection to the divine, and it just deepens that connection to the divine and to spirit. And even in Catholicism, they use incense.
Yeah.
We do too.
Yeah.
It might look a little bit different, but it's the same.
Yeah, that's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with people kind of shifting away from the way things have been. It's not really a change all the way. It's just going back. It's like we're going back to what we used to be like.
Exactly.
Realizing that what we were doing before was actually maybe the right ways to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, when you have that connection, it grounds you better. you can connect more to people. You can connect more to yourself. You're a better person for it. You see things in a better light, in a sense, I guess.
Yeah, when you can see and sense everything's connectedness, then you realize it's not separate from each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You start to see like those spider web connections, right?
Yeah,
with everything. And it's not just this is standalone, that is standalone. Everything's connected.
Oh yeah. That's something I've just kind of had a realization recently on this show, to be honest. Like I had that aha moment. I try to remember who the guest was, Jenny. But it was kind of like
recently.
It was recently, but it was the idea that, because we talk about past lives and, all of these things. And then, well, I just mentioned earlier about the nature of time. Time is a really interesting thing to me. But then we started talking about the fact that past lives and future lives and our lives now could all be happening at the same time.
Yep.
And then the guest we had on, I want to remember who it was, but we were talking about how essentially it was like little pieces of spirit or the universe or however you want to determine that were living these lives, experiencing itself. Oh, it was Ron Iacovetti. That's who it was. So we were talking about, experiencing ourselves, but then, making the realization that we're actually all one consciousness experiencing ourselves, which at that point really to me was like, holy smokes, like now I actually do need to be polite to other people because you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
we're interacting with ourselves.
Thought about that when we were driving around today.
Yeah. But
it's
you know
hard
what I mean?
Some days. It tests you.
Yeah,
like,
it does.
Okay.
It does.
I mean,
it's a work in progress, Candi. It's a work in progress.
It is. It is. And, one day at a time. One day at a time.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in the paranormal investigation? When did that start for you?
Oh my gosh. So I started with residentials, actually. That's where I cut my teeth. Most people kind of start with, like the public investigations, and that's kind of where they cut their teeth. And I kind of did everything backwards. That's kind of my thing, I guess. I do everything backwards. It's just me. But I was actually asked to help a friend of mine years and years ago, many, many moons ago. There was a local resident that was having some issues in their home, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. Things were being moved. They felt really just overly anxious. They didn't feel safe in their home, but they couldn't figure out why. They were hearing knocks and bangs. They were hearing whispers in their home. They couldn't figure out where it was coming from. They just really didn't know what was going on. And so it was like, okay, let's grab basic stuff. And it was literally the old DVC, like camcorder, the little tapes. We had one of those and a little tape recorder, the old school tape recorder. That was it. That's all we had in ourselves. And, I remember being a kid and loving Ghostbusters, and it was literally, I had a backpack and a stick because that was like I was all about it. So that was
Which Ghostbuster did you want to be when you were a kid?
Spangler. But we went in, and it was a hot mess express. We were completely in over our heads, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You do. Everybody does. We went back several times, and of course we ended up, doing a bunch of digging and historical research and finding other people to come in and help us and figure out what was going on. We had the local medicine men come in and help us and cleanse the home. But, and everything ended up okay, but it felt so nice to be able to help someone that was afraid.
Yeah.
And a lot of things we were able to figure out that were completely mundane. It had nothing to do with spirits. It had nothing, to do with anything outside of the realm of the mundane.
Yeah, like the debunking type of things.
And that made them feel so good that, number one, they weren't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Someone would come in and listen to them and take the time just to have a conversation. But then on top of that, what they were experiencing was real and their feelings were valid. And I felt like at that point, okay, this is something that I need to do and I need to move forward with this. And it felt like a calling in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also been, in the medical field for 23 years. Myself a little bit there. But, I've seen a whole lot of stuff. I've dealt with a lot of, I'm also a registered nurse, so I know how to recognize if there are psychological issues,
Oh,
if
yeah.
there are physical issues, that need the attention of, a physician or a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So, and if those issues are present, I'm absolutely going to refer them to the appropriate professional. So, it's just a matter of ensuring that people get the help they need, regardless if it's from me, if it's from someone else, whatever it takes, they're going to get the help that they need. Because that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So I was interested in what is root working? That was in your bio, and I don't understand what that is.
Okay. So root working, it depends on, who's talking about it. Root working, the way I grew up, is you are working with herbs and you are working with things out of nature to heal, to protect. There's natural medicine. It's abundant in everything. It is a type of conjure or spell work, but it is used to help others, but it's also used to help yourself and empower yourself. And I utilize that, and I grew up with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's also utilized a lot with hoodoo, which is a combination of, European, Native American, and African American magics and things like that. You use a lot of psalms with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I grew up with. But you'll hear people talking about working the roots or conjure.
Mm-hmm.
It's all kind of the same thing.
I've heard of root work before, typically coming from the South, and I know that connection, definitely a strong connection with the African American community and like Creole, like a kind of Creole, just like like voodoo and hoodoo kind of connection there.
Yeah,
but
so
I guess
voodoo and hoodoo are very different.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yes, you'll hear a lot of people talk about it within that space. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what I know about it. I know people who have talked about like root work, but I wasn't completely familiar with it.
Yeah.
So is there a connection also between like Native American communities using that as well? Okay.
Yeah. So we use that a lot with calling on our ancestors. There is, a lot of ancestral work and a lot of reverence there. So, you're working within, the spirit allies, the plant allies, your ancestors, and everything works kind of together to give power to the work that you're doing. It sounds more complex than it is, but if you're not trained in it and you're not taught in it, like you can't just go grab a book and say, hey, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. But it takes a lot of training and it takes a lot of work, and that's why most people are more or less most people are born into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that to them it's just kind of second nature. It's just what you do.
Hmm.
But nowadays we have to put labels on everything,
Yeah, for sure.
because it's hard. People get so confused, and there's so much misinformation out there, right? That it gets confusing. So I think that you have to be careful. You have to be very discerning when you're reading things, when you're researching the internet. My biggest thing is that I tell people, regardless of what you're reading, who's teaching you, who's training you, who's mentoring you, take what resonates
Mm-hmm.
and discard the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel right to you, then it's not for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
every practice is going to be different. I mean, there are certain laws of the universe that are just laws. They just are. But I mean, there are things that, I mean, they're just going to vary from person to person. Like,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that's okay. It's how it's supposed to be. It's individual.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because even like if I do like tarot or rune readings, it's very much the same idea. Like there might be one message that you took from that was important, and everything else I said didn't matter.
Right.
But it will resonate with you if it was meant to resonate with you, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
and so you just take those things and like drop it. And you mentioned this at the beginning, of our conversation about prayer and ritual and all of these things, and we've talked about this a ton on the show about how those can be powerful. Like just the
Mhm.
fact that the belief in the ritual, the belief in the prayer, the affirmation that you have in that is really what gives these things their power.
Yeah.
And so, it's just a matter of taking what you can from it and moving on
Yeah.
to something else. Yeah,
So we have a question
we do.
from Maureen.
Yes.
Can you explain the difference between hoodoo and voodoo for
Oh,
those
okay.
who don't know?
So voodoo is it's a very specific religion. So, and within that religion, you have a very strong relationship and worship with spirits. And they're very specific spirits. Voodoo is something you have to be initiated into. You cannot just pick it up and say, "Yep, I'm gonna work voodoo." It's not how it works. It is a practice that is closed, so that means that you have to be initiated into it. Um, and a lot of people get confused with what a closed practice means. So, but in order to actually practice, you have to be invited. Um, and there's a lot of ancestral work too with voodoo, which is another reason why you kind of have to be invited
Yeah.
and then initiated.
Which kind of comes from Vodun, which comes from the western coast of Africa. It gets creolized, essentially.
And
Yeah.
a lot of voodoo practitioners are African American because that's where it originated from, and that's their ancestors that they are calling on.
Mhm.
You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to call on your ancestor," bro. That ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
They are not going to say hey to you. They're not going to come to your aid and work with you. It just doesn't work like that. You can call on your own,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to build. Like you got to work for it. Hoodoo is that kind of amalgamation, of different practices that were put together. Think about Legos. It's Lego. It's Legos. You take this piece from here, and this piece from here, and this piece from here, and you put it together, and you mix it in a pot, and here's hoodoo. So traditionally, it is that mixture of, you've got conjure from the African Americans, and then you have the Native American tradition, and then you have from the Europeans, especially like Irish, and you kind of mixed that together, what those traditions were, and out of that was kind of born hoodoo. And it's one of those things that it varies from area to area how everyone kind of works it. But there's a big emphasis on natural healing. So, aspirin comes from willow bark.
Yeah.
You can stop bleeding with yarrow.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best, if you have trouble sleeping, take a little sachet of lavender, put a whole star anise in it, and stick it under your pillow. You're going to rest very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
It helps with insomnia. So there's a huge push for natural healing. So things like that's the world of hoodoo. Does that help, Maureen?
Yeah, I think that that's helpful.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. It gets really complicated. A lot of those things get complicated because of the origin. We've talked about it a little bit before, and I did for those who are new and joining in, like I have my master's in history, and that's one of the areas I focus on was the transatlantic slave trade. So I've studied a little bit of the history of that specifically. There's some really interesting stories about being practiced on board slave ships, actually. But we can get into that story another time. It's really interesting because there's some really powerful stuff that happens, including them turning the boat back around on one of those stories. So it gets pretty interesting when you talk about there being historical evidence for that.
Yeah.
We got other questions. Let me get through here to see who we have here.
Here, I got it ready. We have one
go
from
ahead.
Cynthia. Wanted to know, are you ever drawn to areas? I'm assuming she means like specific areas.
Yeah, absolutely. When we go into a haunted location, it's like I like to kind of do a walk around, and I always go in blind. I don't want to know history. I don't want to know anything up front, simply because I don't want anything that we experience, anything that anybody picks up, whether that be an EVP, whether that be a feeling, a thought, anything, that psychics or mediums pick up on, to be tainted by what you've heard. So, we don't research anything. We don't get like a history tour, anything like that. We go in blind. And so you kind of go in, you do your quick tour, and then it's like, okay, where do you want to go next? And then you go to what area you feel like you're called to. Where do you feel that pull? And that's where you go. Because it happens all the time. And it's really and truly one of those things, like if you ever feel like, hey, I really need to go over here, do it. There's a reason. You don't have to know what the reason is behind it, but there's a reason, because that is your intuition. That is your sixth sense, your psychic sense, whatever you want to call it. It's pulling you that direction for a reason.
Our next question, I think, directly ties to what you're talking about. So Shadow Max has a comment and then a question. So it says, hello, Candi. A portion of the population, when asked, do they have an inner voice, report no. Having tuned into your inner voice, do you believe these people are unable to find spiritual peace?
No, they have just forgotten what their inner voice even sounds like. One of the biggest things that helped me, and one of the biggest things that I tell people to do, because our world is constant. It never stops. We are bombarded 24 hours a day.
With podcasts, we're just yapping in your ear all the time.
But, I mean, think about it. Our cell phones, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time you were ever bored?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we sit on the couch. If
Yeah.
there's nothing going on, we're scrolling. We're doom scrolling TikTok. I do it all the time. Or we're doom scrolling Facebook. There's always something to keep us entertained. So
Yeah.
purposeful boredom.
Yeah.
Be intentionally bored. For
See, these 80s and 90s kids know what that's all about.
I know, right? Like we were bored. Oh my god!
I used to play in the dirt.
Do, right? Nothing to do.
Yeah.
But if you are like set aside, even if it's 10 minutes a day, to be purposefully bored, do something that is mindless, or do nothing on purpose.
Mhm.
Make it intentional. Meditation. Because if you meditate and it is the most boring thing in the world, like it is boring as dishwater, but that's where you learn what does your body feel like, what does your mind feel like when it's focused on something, a stupid dot on the wall, I promise,
Yeah.
versus what does it feel like when it's distracted, and how do you bring it back to what you're focused on. That is the easiest way that I know of anyway, to start learning again what is my voice and what is coming from me. Hey, Enfield, how are you guys? Thanks for hopping on. And what is not me? What is not my thought? What is not, my inner voice? What is actually coming from somewhere else?
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know what your own thoughts, feelings, body is like, how can you tell if there's something different coming in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good answer, because we've talked about this a little bit. This idea of certain people not having inner dialogues,
Mm-hmm.
and I've talked to some people who don't. I was a little worried at first that we had NPCs running around, but I think that's a good answer. That maybe with just so much that people don't have a moment, unlike myself, who's like arguing with myself half the time, which I don't know what that says about me.
You're just a Gemini. That's what that means.
There you
Exactly,
go.
Gemini. So like, I definitely have that going on all the time. But yeah, like there is so much vying for our attention, and a lot of these things we've talked about this before too. Like working for me, someone who's like learning to do tarot, who's learning runes, who's trying to learn mediumship. It takes a lot of time alone, and it takes a lot of dedication, and it takes like meditation. And in this world that we live in, that's very like instant gratification, that can be a little bit of a challenge.
It is.
Yeah.
Oops, wrong one.
All right.
I think sometimes we're just so, hey, you're very welcome. I think sometimes we're so conditioned, especially nowadays, just to like constantly have something right here, right now, versus, oh, this is going to take a little time. This might take a week. This might take 2 weeks until I start to understand. And it's just how our world is now. But if we have to learn to slow down, because it's worth it. It really is worth it. And you feel better for it too.
All right.
So as far as the Orishas, I am not very well schooled on those. That's not something that I've dug into terribly much in the last several years, to be honest. So, but if I remember correctly, I don't want to misspeak. I want to say it's South America, the Caribbean, but it's like a collection of gods, I believe, that are worshipped. So, but I don't know a whole lot about them. So I don't want to dig heavy into that because it's been a while since I've dug into that.
Well, we got a ton going on, Jenny. We got a lot of questions coming in. I want to get to some more of them, and then I think we got some stuff we want to talk about too. I know we're a little bit early. Do we want to go ahead and take our little break?
Yeah, I will do our
questions?
little ad read, and I have another question queued up, ready to go. You want to get weird? Check out all the weirdness of the Witching Hours podcast.com, our official home on the web. You'll find future guests, links to all our social media websites, information. upcoming events, including Teamwork Takeover at Lake Shawnee, June 7th and 8th, and our merch store where you can purchase exclusive merch for the witching hours. If you're looking for more, you can check out our archive of past episodes on YouTube or listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And speaking of merch, we have all the merch rolling in that we purchased for
Yay!
the Teamwork Takeover for all the merch packages. It's so exciting. It's just sitting around the house and I just want to like show everybody and like send it out. But we
It's a surprise for us.
It's a surprise. I know.
Calm down.
So we're excited. We'll be having that coming out very soon. If you're just joining us, welcome in. We're listening. We are talking rather at the Candi Howard tonight. We got a lot of really interesting stuff. We've been talking about mediumship and her tradition, working with magic and other things. We've been talking about voodoo. We've been talking about all kinds of subjects have come up tonight. We have a lot of great questions that are coming from the audience, so keep them going, whether you're with us over on spiritrealm.net, where you can find us and talk to us over there, or whether you're talking to us here in Twitch as well. Keep those questions coming, and we'll get to as many of them as we possibly can. But I think you said you had another question queued up.
I do. From Joe, would you be interested to hear a perspective on sound healing and how her traditions inform that?
Very, very interesting question. So, with sound healing, so in my tradition, so we utilize singing as part of, to us, singing is prayer, right? So is dancing. And when you do that, it is a connection to the gods. So it is connection to the creator. It's connection to spirit. So that is a healing journey. It's a part of your healing journey. It's no different, really, in my personal view, as prayer would be or song would be in dedication to any other spirit, or a mantra or a chant, because your voice, your breath is spirit. So in a lot of traditions, that is your life force, is the breath. So anytime that you're utilizing breath to sing, that would be giving the best thing that you could give, right? In devotion, or in reverence to. A lot of people use sounding bowls for cleansing. And it's very, very healing to the mind. If you look at some of the studies that have been done on, people with various, schizophrenia, depression, autism, you look at what sound and what music does to the brain for calming.
Yeah, we just had a weird news article not too long ago about them figuring out a certain frequency was really good for Alzheimer's patients.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it activates parts in the brain. I mean, I've had patients with Alzheimer's that could not speak. They weren't able to really communicate in any way, but they, had played music in the past, and you put, or they danced in the past. And you play music for them. One gentleman, he played the piano previously when he was younger. And we sat him in front of the piano because he just liked to sit there. And we had turned on piano music one day just to let him hear it. He started to play the piano.
Oh, cool.
It woke that part of his brain up.
Yeah.
And that triggered, and it was, his fingers were, 50 years younger again. It was just an incredible thing to see. So I fully feel that, music, sound in general is incredibly healing. We don't fully understand it, but they're doing a lot of research on it finally. I think science is, like you said earlier, Jenny, science is finally kind of catching up a little
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah, it's interesting to think about all of that because it's like my brain starts to understand it just the tiniest little bit because like even in the woo woo world we talk about frequencies,
bit. Hmm.
frequencies for this or whatever and that,
Mhm.
and
Vibration.
it's all vibration, which is your voice and music and even the movement of dancing, like it's all connected.
Yeah, it truly is.
Yeah. Yeah. But my brain can only put it together so much. Like
Yeah.
I don't see like the big picture of it. Like I just see like I know that it's connected and important.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Joe had
All
a
right.
follow up here. He said, thanks so much, Candy. I've always felt prayer healing when singing or playing an instrument or go into an altered state when dancing. Singing both for healing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the most incredible things is having that moment where you enter that altered state.
Mhm.
You either enter that trance or you start having those movements where it's almost like you have that involuntary movement of your body when you're dancing. It's an
Mhm.
incredible feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Music for me is like, even now, if I'm going to try to really meditate, I have to have some special music on for it. Like it just gets me into that. Not that I can't be quiet, but it just gives me that special vibe that, well, we
Mhm.
talked about before, a ritual. It's like
Yeah.
something that I feel like I trust that I'm going to get there, and that helps me get there. At first, I had those questions like, am I cheating by listening to music when I'm
Not
meditating?
at all.
Like, am I doing it wrong?
Nope.
And yeah, that's kind of what Jenny was saying. Like, whatever
Yeah.
works.
I think most people do need some kind of
Yeah.
like repetitive,
Mhm.
chanting or drumming or
Yeah.
something. I'm one of
Mhm.
the oddballs who's like, no, I want nothing. That's going to distract me.
Well, I
I
think you had that
breath.
sitting in the power thing, I think helped you with that
Oh yeah, yeah.
back at the beginning.
It's got to be
Like,
real quiet. I wanted to talk about ancestral work a little bit more.
Mhm.
So, for me, ancestral work hasn't been something that I've pursued because it wasn't something that I was taught to do, or it's not been something that I've really looked into. But um, through my medium readings, ancestors have come through for other people.
Mhm.
So I was interested to see and know how you experience ancestral energy and what like your interaction with them is.
So I have a very strong connection to my ancestors. So I actually have a small altar um, for my ancestors. And, it has, especially the ones that I have most recently that have passed on, I have their pictures there. Um, and what I do is I light some incense, every day. Every so often, I'll pour like a small libation for them and put little trinkets or something up there of things that they enjoyed, while living. Um, the the older ancestors that I never met, that's who the incense is typically for. Um, and it's just an offering of you're remembered, right? That is a great way to connect, but they are like spirit guides and helpers um, in daily work and also protectors for me. So, especially if I'm doing any kind of oracular work, pendulum work, I do a lot of pendulum work and I draw stones as well. It's part of my practice that I use, but they really help me to guide and understand things, especially when you have those moments where it's like, what in the world is going on? And you know, I just don't know what it is. And it's almost like they kind of give you that little bit of a nudge, just when you need it. And you're like, okay, where is everybody? Like, what's going on? I'm supposed to have, these guides or this team, and nobody's here. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um, it's not so much that like that big like, hey, I'm here. But every once in a while, when there's really something major going on, that's really when I feel like they show up in force. If you are really in a bad situation, you can feel it. It's like suddenly you have the confidence that you could conquer the world.
So it's like they got your back.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's an incredible feeling because you know it's not from within you. And it's the most amazing feeling.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah. I like that as because like I'm clearly familiar with spirit guides and higher self and all that. So it's like it's the same thing. It's just specifically acknowledging and working with ancestors that you know and
Right.
ones you don't know.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's calling out to them and saying, you are of me and I am of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I need you with me to protect me, to guard me, to guide me. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get to a question that could be controversial, depending on how you feel.
Ooh, those are the fun ones.
What is your stance on crossing spirits over?
So, my thing is, if someone has trapped that spirit here and that spirit wants to go, then I'm going to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not my place if that spirit doesn't reach out to say, hey, like somebody's got me here under duress, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not my place.
What if they're stuck and they don't realize that they're stuck, but they seem like they want help?
Well, if they're stuck and they don't know what's going on, then we need to help them figure out what's going on first. Because to me, it's almost cruel to not like get them to the point of some semblance of understanding before we move them on.
Yeah.
And also, too, who are we to make that choice for them?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So what about the spirit that knows where they are and they don't want to leave?
We don't have that choice.
Yeah.
If they don't want to leave,
leave it up to them.
Leave it up to them.
What if they're being a real pain in the ass, though?
They have every right to be a pain in the ass. Hey, look, we've got jerks on this side of the veil, just we got jerks on that side of the veil.
You're all right about that. We were talking about them driving earlier.
Yeah. I mean, I fully intend to probably be that crotchety old woman that's like, get off my lawn. I mean, I'm going to have fun in my old age. Why not? I'm going to be, searching for the paranormal with my walker and my cane. Like,
Okay, what about the locations that when you go to a location to do an investigation and they absolutely are like, you cannot move anybody on? What about that?
I have to respect their wishes.
Yeah.
I really do, because it's not for me to go in and clear a place out. It's just not. I have no right to go in and do that.
Especially since it's the person's livelihood usually to have their haunted location. Yeah.
And a lot of times too, people have formed a bond with these spirits. Love you, Stacy. Have a good night at work. A lot of people have formed a bond with these spirits, and it's not, it's not okay for us to go in and say, you know what, I think that I'm Barney Badass and I'm going to go in here and do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
No, because if somebody comes to my house and says, I'm going to move all your stuff out because I think I can. Excuse me? We going to have a few problems.
So you really are going to be like when you pass on, you are going to be one of them ghosts.
Oh, I am. I'm going to be
You're
causing
not taking my stuff.
all kinds of
My law.
havoc. Like somebody's going to be rolling up and I'm going, oh, you're going to know I'm here. Like I'm going to be throwing stuff off the walls.
And whoever lives there now is going to be like, oh, that's just Candi.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't listen to her.
Make sure that you guys have the best evidence ever. Like, what are we doing today? What are we doing today?
This is just a fun one that is not relevant to our conversation at all, but
No.
it comes up in Twitch all the time. Controversial question: pineapple on pizza.
I have yet to have pineapple on pizza.
No?
It was not gross.
It wasn't gross. Oh yeah.
So I have friends that I love and adore that are like, it is so good and it smells good.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It smells good, but
So it's
every time
tricking you.
I've tried it, I'm like, oh no. Mm-mm.
Okay, here's a real question now. All right, CMC says, what to do with an evil spirit or energy that is harming people and the living physically or psychologically?
So here's the thing. How do you know that that spirit is evil and he's not just a jerk?
Ooh, CMC.
That's the thing. Like, we have to get away from just because something is causing issues, we have to get away from automatically labeling it as evil.
Yeah.
Because I promise you this, 99.9% of the time, it's not evil. It's just a jerk.
Yeah. I've come across them myself, yeah.
Promise you. Like, I have been in this field a very, very long time, and I also, there are butthead spirits out there that will cause harm. They cause mental harm. They cause, emotional harm, anguish. That does not make them evil. That makes them an asshole.
So what do you do about it if they are causing harm, even if they are just a jerk?
So the first thing you do is you set your boundaries. You go in there and you say, look, number one, you talk to it like it's a teenager that's grounded. Number one, like, why are you doing this? This is not appropriate. This is my house. This is my space. You have no authority here. You are not allowed to do this. No, not okay. My space, either you follow the rules and live here peacefully or get out.
Mm-hmm.
You have that authority within you and yourself. But you have to know it. You have to have the full courage and conviction of it and set your boundaries.
Yeah.
Absolutely have to. And if you need help, then you call in help because there's a ton of us. I promise you, we can come in and do that.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it. A lot of people on my team have done it. Unique Paranormal 1.5. We don't play.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's my thing about it too. Is like you have to really feel it within yourself that you're in control of the situation and not whatever is harassing you.
And I've definitely had those experiences now where I don't know if I've ever had any kind of run-in with even stuff that I thought at the time was evil turned out to be, I think, stuff that was just like tied to the land. It was just old stuff.
Yeah, it's old.
And like it just,
Old
probably
atrocity.
think about everything. Well, not only that, it probably just has a completely different perspective on things than we have as humans, like things that have been around for eons.
Yeah.
And so we don't necessarily know how to take that. So that's always an important part to me because it's like we are talking. Like, look, I don't think anybody has all the answers about the other side.
No, not
And
at all.
so we're trying to put that puzzle piece together. And as we do that, I think we just have to keep an open mind, knowing that like we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
So we can't come to any like this is exactly the way that it is because we just haven't gotten there yet, and maybe we will. Maybe we will.
Yep, absolutely. There's so much that we don't know, and that's why we keep looking for answers.
Yep.
Well, there's a whole lot more that I'd like to talk to you about with paranormal investigation and all those things, but we got about 15 minutes left, so I wanted to crack into the Spirit Realm Network a little bit and talk about your role at Spirit Realm Network and kind of what the Spirit Realm Network is trying to achieve.
Oh my gosh, so we we want to like just conquer the paranormal world. Truthfully, our main goal with the Spirit Realm Network is that we want to be able to continue to bring better and better and better paranormal programming to everyone and keep it free. That is our goal. We have a phenomenal studio, a professional studio out in California. We're actually producing a show right now. So out there for the Realm, it's called The Realm.
Excellent.
So we've got a wonderful guest. A lot of people know this guest, so everybody will be really happy to see who that is.
Cool.
Wonderful.
The studio is amazing. We have, all of our incredible weekly shows. We have phenomenal teams, that goes out and, produces all of these shows that are on. We've got, live stream cameras that are going 24 hours a day. And, and we're picking up more now of our live streams where we go out and it's us and a camera. Thanks, Nate. You're awesome. Hey, Jeannie Beanie. And now we are doing more and more of where we started, which is live stream investigations. We go to a location, we set up with a small team, and we do a live stream investigation that everybody gets to watch. And what's great is, everyone as the audience is a participant in that.
You get to look for things too and listen for things. Yeah.
So much fun. And it's incredible how much the audience catches that we don't see or we don't hear. So you've got so many more eyes and ears that it just enhances it so much. So this year we are really kicking it up to add more of those live stream investigations. I'm kicking off Haunted and Alone with the Monroe House in Indiana in July. So, and that is going to be a live stream as well. So every time we do Haunted and Alone, that's live. So everybody gets to watch it and interact, and that one's going to be so much fun because it's just me and Jen and a camera. That's it. It's just us.
Yeah.
And wherever we decide, we're like, let's go to this creepy place and just decide we're going to stay here all night and film and bring everybody with us. So,
yeah.
We just want to continue to grow and get better.
I think there's a big aspect of that too. It's like you can tell that like you're excited about it and like it's good, like it's fun, and so much of this is fun. And I think that's something that I think to some extent started being lost with some of the entertainment that was being put out on it. Like we enjoy what we do, whether that's talking about the paranormal, investigating the paranormal, doing medium reading. Like these are all things that we can kind of celebrate and kind of help introduce to people as well. Not just people who are into it, of course, but also like have a way for people to be able to enter into this kind of woo-woo world.
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to meet so many incredible people. Like, it's to be able to do something that you love continually and watch it grow and get to meet so many wonderful people along the way. Like, really? Could you ask for anything more?
Yeah, it is. I'll say that just doing this show, I found that out very quickly. Like, it's really great to just start meeting people and being able to have a conversations. We met so many great
So
people, and
many really cool people. Yeah.
we've said it a ton. We haven't gotten we haven't gotten to a lot of different, but we've done Hanover Tavern, and we've met. I mean, everyone there we've met have been wonderful. I mean, fabulous. And we're going to be going up to Paracon in July, so we're really looking forward to that, and we're going to get to stream that live on Spirit Realm as well. So I'm looking forward to that, because that's one of the things that happens on Twitch is like, Twitch being mainly a video game platform. Like, they'll have like a video game, like a award show or like a con, and people will stream from there. And I watch those a lot because it's like I don't get to go, but I can check it out. And so that's one of the things that the Witching Hours can do as well on at the Paracon in July. If you can't make it there, you can kind of live vicariously through watching the podcast. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Well,
Excellent.
the Spirit Realm Network wants to know, how did you get involved with the Spirit Realm Network?
Oh, goodness. So, yeah. So, originally, I had written something on Facebook, and the CEO had reached out to me and asked to have a talk. So we had a little chat, and I was originally brought in as a writer for the network. So I was doing some writing, and then I was asked to do a show. So I had a show, The Supernatural Sirens, here on the Spirit Realm Network. We have 1 to 2 more episodes that we're going to put out. They're already filmed. And so they're going to be put out. And then, I just started doing a lot of behind the scenes work. I do a lot of the graphic design and things like that for the network as well. I do all of the writing, that sort of thing with the network. And just as I kind of continue to do more and more, I was promoted to the COO, because I was doing a lot of the managing, a lot of the business aspect and things like that. And it just kind of grew, honestly. So it's been an incredible ride. And honestly, I never thought in my wildest dreams that this would ever happen. It's like we all kind of get into the paranormal of like, this would be so cool, to get to do something that you love to do. And then it happens, and you're like, wait a minute, is this real? Is this real?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
It's that Talking Head song. How did I get here?
It is. Where am I? Why am I in this handbasket? Like, what happened?
Yeah. Okay, so we got a few more minutes left. So you were talking about one of the things that you have coming up, but what else do you have coming up? Are you going to be certain places? What kind of things are you filming? And what places are you going to investigate? Yeah. Yeah,
so there's, oh goodness, this year's crazy. I do. I have Cabin Con coming up. Yay, Cam. I'll be so happy to meet you. So May 30th through June 1st, I will be in Mechanicsville, VA at Cabin Con at Cabin 360. This is the very first con that we're doing there. It's an incredible location. Over 10 acres of land that was battlefield ground. There's also a cabin there. There's also a house where there was a murder in that home. And then the body was dragged out of the house and onto the ground directly behind the house.
Yeah, we just had Dennis on not too long ago. Talking about
I love Dennis. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's fun.
He was great to have on.
Yeah, guys, if you can get to Cabin Con, it's going to be incredible. Yeah. This is their first year doing it, and Dennis is an incredible person. I also have, we're doing the Palmer House extravaganza with Patty Negri this week, actually.
Oh, it's this week. Oh,
it's this week. It kicks off Thursday.
Awesome.
So that is a 3-day event at the Palmer House in Minnesota with Miss Patty Negri. So that is this week. Oh, goodness. And then I have,
Will any of that be on the Spirit Realm Network?
yes, we will live stream.
Cool.
Yep, we're going to live stream. We're going to be doing a seance,
Excellent.
gallery reading,
Ooh.
and a paranormal investigation.
Cool.
So we will be live streaming the investigation and the seance. So that's going to be awesome. So we have Friday and Saturday night this coming week will be live streams. So
Cool.
that's going to be
Excellent.
awesome.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I have June 21st will be Creep It Real Festival in Pennsylvania.
That's a fun name.
Yeah. So it started off, we were doing just a small thing. My friends that own the Doss House in Loretto, PA, if you guys have never been there, make sure that you go over to Facebook and you check out the Doss House. It is incredible, extremely affordable. That place is crazy. I've been there multiple times, and it has never ever let me down. Yes, Creep It Real is incredible. Yes, there you go, Irene. It's amazing. All the money that is raised for Creep It Real goes straight to St. Jude Children's Hospital.
Oh, cool.
So it's a big community event. It's going to be amazing. The Blue Bodie's going to be there. Who else we got? Patty Negri's going to be there. I'm going to pull up the poster. There's so many people. Like, it started off really small, and now it's just
It's wonderful.
it's huge. Let me pull up my calendar because now I can't even remember.
But you're going to be at Paracon with us, right?
Yes, I am.
July.
Gosh,
Yes.
that's July. Oh my jeepers. Where else am I at?
Jeepers Creepers.
Jeepers creepers.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Looking forward to that. And we we're not gonna be like officially at the Cabin Con because we have a Teamwear takeover the next week. But I am going to be there. I'm going to swing by to be able to say hello and hopefully to meet a whole bunch of cool people. And I want to check it out. So I'm going to swing by. I don't know if I'm going to swing by Friday or Saturday, but I'm definitely going to be by to come say hello.
Yeah, definitely. I think Saturday is going to be the best day because Friday is always the first day,
Yeah,
kind of a half day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for Saturday and just to see, once we get the first full day, how awesome that's going to be. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
gonna
we
be
haven't had an opportunity to. I mean, we're not like we haven't investigated a ton of places yet, anyway. But we haven't had the opportunity to investigate that at all yet. Like we haven't been there, so that's going to be interesting to be able to check out. I think.
Yeah, it's really a place that the first time I ever went there, I was surprised. I wasn't honestly expecting anything, which I never am when I go in. But really, that place, I was like, okay. I was shocked, really shocked.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Looking forward to it. Excellent. Well, we are coming up towards the bottom of the hour, so we're just about at a time.
the bottom of the half hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone who's come in. We had so many wonderful questions.
Yes.
Almost always get. I think we might have gotten to all of them tonight. If we did leave a question out, we apologize. We try to get to all of them. For all you people who are listening to us in another time, in another place, we will see you all next time.